pick his brain on a whole bunch of topics related to that. He's been living in Latin America for a while, but I think he can probably introduce himself better than I can. So why don't you give people a quick summation of who you are and what you do with your YouTube stuff?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. So my name's Alex. I'm pretty new to YouTube still. Maybe it's been about 5, 6 months, something like that. I'm originally from Boston, but I've been living in Latin America for the past 3 years now. So I've lived in 12 different cities across, I think, 9 different countries. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. I'm currently in Boston right now. It's been almost a year since I've been back to the States. So it's been interesting. And I'll be back in Paraguay later this month. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. How did you first sort of come across like, hey, I want to kind of travel and live abroad, or I'm looking for an alternative lifestyle? When did you start kind of thinking about that? When did the gears start churning, and why?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I have a real estate background. I was in real estate for 10 years. And right around COVID, obviously a lot of changes happened then. It wasn't fun being in real estate. I wanted something different. It wasn't fun living in Boston. I prefer warmer weather. That's why I'm in Boston during the summertime only. Um, so obviously we have pretty rough winters out here, you know. So I wasn't a fan of the weather. I wasn't a fan of the cost of living. You know, my cost of living was super high. Working a lot of hours in real estate. Felt just getting by really. And I've always wanted to travel. So I was always looking for a way to be remote, even if that meant having a real estate team in Boston, right? That was kind of the original plan, was to do well, have a team, I can travel. But then around COVID, I learned of different avenues to be able to be remote. And I jumped into remote sales. And luckily, because of my real estate background, that skill set translated pretty well. I've been in remote sales since then and been traveling the world since then.
Nice. I've been to Boston in late July. I've actually been to Fenway too. It's actually really nice in the summer, so it probably makes the rest of the year's horrible weather worth it at that point. But
yeah, Boston summers are great. I'm actually going to be in Fenway Park tomorrow for the game with my dad and my brother. So those are fun.
awesome.
Yeah, Fenway Park's a really cool experience for those who haven't been.
Amazing vibe. I've never seen fans drink so much though. No offense, but
we're pretty big with the sports here in Boston, as you probably know.
Yeah. Absolutely. So when you started looking into traveling to specifically Latin America, what were the first locations that came up and why? And why have you, it seems like you've kind of maybe settled on Asunción, Paraguay a little more recently. Just why did those stand out to you?
Yeah, so I have a buddy. He does like Medellin, Miami, back and forth, right? So he's the one that really inspired me. He's also from the same town that I'm from, which is Salem, north of Boston. And at the time he was living in Revere, he was telling me about his trips to Medellin and Cartagena. So he was the first one to be in Colombia as far as close friends that I knew, right? And he loved his time there. Then he moved to Miami, and I figured I wanted a similar lifestyle. So I already knew someone in Miami, right? And he introduced me to his friends. So it's a pretty good network there in Medellin. So I started in Medellin, and I was there for 6 months. I almost stayed there. Because, like I said, I met some buddies from my friend, and they're in the same space as I am. They do, remote sales, or they have their own online businesses. Cool guys. And I figured, this could be a good spot to just base. But I always had the curiosity to want to travel more. But I think that answers your question, right, as far as why I started in Medellin. That's why I started there. And why in Paraguay? You want me to go into that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Sure. So I've just always been curious, right, as far as finding my base. I knew I wanted to be out of Boston, right? I thought maybe Miami might be a good base because all my friends from Salem and Boston, like not all of them, but like a few of them left and they never came back, whether it's Miami, Austin, Texas, one's in North Carolina, another one's in also travels like I do. So I've always wanted to travel. Mexico, I went to several different cities in Mexico. Then I went back to Colombia. I wanted to go to Cali this time. And then I checked out Santa Marta. I've explored a lot of Colombia. Yeah. From there, I went to Lima, Peru, which is a really cool place too. So I just wanted, sorry, I'm getting a call right now. I just wanted to explore as much as I could to find like a good base. And then finally, when I hit Paraguay is different. Paraguay, you have a different type of expat there. You have people who actually live there, right? Spend time there. They're not short-term travelers like a lot of guys in Medellin. Colombia has other cities too, but you have more like the retiree or the short-term digital nomad that's coming and going, right? So Paraguay just seems like a really good place to have a solid network. It's more of a chill place. I'm a chill guy. I like being in a place where I can really focus on my work and grow. So it gives me that type of base that I'm looking for. That residency is much easier than a lot of other countries. Like in Colombia, if you wanted to get residency, it's a little more of a challenge. Visas are easy, but when you're going to live in Latin America, you want residencies, right? Or you want passports. So the guy who's more serious, Paraguay is like the really the simplest version. Once someone knows that they want to live outside the state, so I can keep going about Paraguay, but hopefully that gives you an idea.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I envy you that you're on the East Coast. That's an easy travel to go to Latin America. It's a little more difficult if you're on the West Coast. However, I do have access to Asia, which I've lived in South Korea for extended periods of time. So I don't know if you've ever had interest in going to Asia or doing the Southeast Asia thing. Probably, maybe not.
I did, yeah, of course I did. But in remote sales, time zones matter, right? Like
Yeah.
I have my clients, my sales calls from U.S. time zone. So if I was in Southeast Asia, I'm gonna be working like overnights, you know.
No,
Uh,
no, I remember living in South Korea. The time zone difference is a massive inconvenience sometimes. So yeah, I definitely understand being on East Coast time way easier.
That's
For
part of it, man. That's part of it. But also, I love Thai food. I love Vietnamese food. Like I love the food,
very good.
that stuff. But another thing is like I have an edge speaking Spanish, right? Like I didn't speak perfect Spanish because I grew up in Boston. It's basically all English. But luckily, my mom spoke it in the household, so I knew some basic Spanish. And being able to speak Spanish in Latin America, I can actually integrate with the culture. If you're in a place
Yeah.
like Thailand or Vietnam or Philippines, I feel, yeah, you can, people speak English out there, but you can't really integrate with that if you don't speak their language. So that was a big key too.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you have some, pre-existing cultural ties to the region, and so it kind of makes it almost a natural resting place for you in some ways. So, it's a little, kind of an obvious one in some ways for you. So, I think
Yeah, it's where
that
I have my edge. But my dad's Puerto Rican and my mom's Guatemalan, so I do have a Latino
okay,
background.
yeah, so
Yeah.
right in those regions as well. Yeah, that's a big hurdle for a lot of guys when I ever speak to them about living this sort of alternative lifestyle thing is there's just some pre-existing hurdles like language learning or even just getting the passport, which is not that hard. They consider that a hurdle, which is just like it's like how much effort does that really take? It's surprising to me sometimes, but I think it's a lot all at once for guys to go, I need to get a passport and learn a language and find a city and then learn it. It's like it seems like a lot to them all at once. How do you go about when you talk to people or just yourself breaking down the individual steps? Did you just take it a little bit at a time, or did you just kind of just dive right in and just go for it and see what
Yeah,
happens?
that's another good question. So I was fortunate to work on a relocation offer in sales. So I kind of know about this. Like we would help people from the States or Canada move to Europe. That was one offer I was on. But now I have a lot of guys hitting me up too on the channel, on my YouTube channel, asking questions like this, right? So yeah, typically, I mean, step one is knowing why you want to move. Like, what's the reason, right? A lot of guys who have maybe I don't know, they're married with kids. That's more of a challenge. But if you're a single guy, like divorced, no kids, or your kids are grown, it's a lot easier for you, right? A common challenge is where to go, right? It's the how to find housing there. Passport should be very simple. I don't know why someone would have a challenge with that. But yeah, so just this, what to do with your stuff, right? Like whether I should store it, should I sell my house, things like that, right before you leave. A lot of logistical stuff holds people back too. Could be, I don't know, like people think about visas right away. They think about things like cell phones, just a lot of little details in it right before they leave. So I find that's a challenge for a lot of people. For me, it was really simple. I guess I was just dissatisfied with my lifestyle in Boston so much. It was just a simple decision. I had friends ask me, "Aren't you nervous?" Or like, I'm like, "This is an easy decision." For me, it was really simple. Yeah, my lease expired, and I basically sold my things. I sold I like to read, so I sold a lot of my books. That was probably the difficult thing for me
Okay.
was just to have. I have my Kindle here somewhere, so for reading for me is big. So now I read a Kindle and I have a suitcase, I have a carry-on, and I have a backpack. So right now I'm still in like living that type of a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Where I can like live anywhere in the world. But I think pretty soon I'm going to be more based, like I said, right? So it's going to be a little more like I'll have probably more stuff is what I'm saying. But those are some challenges that I found from other people.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think when you take that first, like you do a first exploratory trip, it can seem like a lot at first, but then like I think the more times you do it, the easier it can get, and the logistics get a little easier. I mean, I remember when I did my first trip about 7 months ago to Colombia. I hit up 3 cities in a week. Um, And like it can seem a lot at first, but like now that I'm thinking about going back, it's like, okay, I kind of did that already. I already lived abroad in South Korea. So like I think people just need practice and experience. And I think if you're motivated enough,
Mm-hmm.
you'll make it happen, right? Those things won't seem like such big massive challenges or something like that. So
Yeah,
um
yeah. I'd recommend someone just take an exploratory trip, just go like what you did, right? Maybe go for a weekend, go for a week if you can, 2 weeks if you can, and it's not then crazy. So just see if it's for you, and then from there you can go further.
yeah, I did Cartagena, Medellin, Cali, and then went back to Cartagena and then flew back. And that was a
Nice.
really kind of just brief overview. And you learn some things too about the cities that you may like or don't like, and
Hmm.
the weather aspects of it and just what appeals to you. I think Cali ended up being a really surprising city that I think is kind of underrated in Colombia, despite its kind of tumultuous reputation to some degree. And it's a city that has a lot of vibe, and it's not as it's kind of safeguarded from tourists in a way that Medellin and Cartagena are not. So it was interesting because I actually saw you did videos on you living in Cali, and I'm like, that's cool that somebody actually went there, because I think it's kind of an often overlooked location just because of where it is and kind of the perceived danger of it. So
How did you feel? And like, where did you stay? What neighborhood?
in Cali, I was in El Peñon.
Okay, yeah, really good area.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
in good.
that's
That was
yeah.
what?
I walked around San Antonio area as well, and so yeah, those a good area. Granada is a good area. Like I went to that area as well. I went to Ciudad Guardin, which is in the south area,
Mhm.
which is not bad as well. So I think it's like if you stick to the good parts, it still felt kind of sketchy at times. I have to admit, more sketchy than Medellin or Cartagena to some degree, but the city had more vibe. And I just don't think that there's the same amount of people trying to target tourists there, because there just aren't any. Like I think I was the only white guy in Cali like the whole time I was there, right? It's just not a common person to go.
Yeah, yeah. I did meet quite a few expats there, tourists there too, but it's definitely way less than Medellin for sure. There is an expat community there. But yeah, you're right. I much rather prefer to live in Cali than like a Medellin or a Cartagena.
Yeah. I think Medellin felt, to me anyways, the most American and westernized city that I went to in Colombia. And I'm like, this is, nice, obviously, for the obvious reasons, but I think if you want to go live in Latin America, it's like you're trying to escape some of that
Right.
westernization to a degree because of the problems it brings with it. So
I agree.
that's why I've never really settled on Medellin as being a good long-term place for me anyways. Of course, there's some obvious benefits to it, but I don't know what you think about that. But
About what? About Medellin?
yeah, Medellin being very westernized to a degree, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Americanized. I'll just say that. I'll just use
I
that.
like to visit Medellin. Like I got like a lot of people do what I do there, right? Whether they're online business owners or they have remote sales background. So it's a great place to network. I always say if you're someone who doesn't have remote income and you want to meet people who are in the space, go to Medellin for like a week and meet up with some people and make some connections and get hired for something. Like you can meet a lot of people there that can help you out. So it's a great place, amazing place to network. But to live, I mean, I really think it's getting a little pricier. Obviously there's the
Mhm.
whole gentrification thing. Like Colombia doesn't really want uh tourists to be there, right? Because it's just not a good look for them. Same thing with Mexico City, similar story there. So I want to avoid to live in places like that and just visit them, right? Enjoy what they have to offer, but not necessarily live there.
Yeah, yeah. I want you to kind of just give a little bit of a summary of, because a lot of guys just haven't dated outside the U.S. at all, right? It's just like it's not in their mental scope to understand what it's like. And I've dated in Asia and a little bit in Latin America, not a whole lot, but I've dated outside the U.S. But a lot of guys just can't comprehend just the array of options and how better things can be for them. Was it really shocking to you when you begin to delve into that scene, just how good things can get compared to whatever we call this dating scene in the West and Europe and in America, for example?
Yeah, it's much better in Latin America. It's actually, Cali was one of the better dating markets that I've been to. Um, how do I explain it? You have more of an edge, I guess, right? I mean, like if you're earning, because a big part of it has to do with financial. You could live in a nice place, right? You can go out to eat. You can go on as many dates. You can go to the best restaurants. You can live a high quality of life for very little, and the average salary there is like 500. So a lot of the men there in that country can't provide the type of lifestyle that maybe someone who earns USD can, right? That's part of it. You're more exotic, right? You're someone who speaks English, which is another thing. Like a lot of women want to learn how to speak English, right? A lot of them don't speak English, probably less than 10%. So that's another factor to it. So you just are seen like as a higher value human being, I feel. And as long as you're a good person, you're honest, like they'll love you for that. They're also more open-minded from, well, they're obviously the whole feminine part, right? They're definitely more feminine. They're definitely going to cater to you more. I found that they're more open-minded. Like if you want to date non-monogamously as well, right? Like I had a really good girl there, and she was fine with me seeing other, as long as she was like the main one, you know. So I thought that was interesting. Like, good luck finding a girl like that in the States if you want to explore that, you know, side of a relationship.
Sure.
And I'm sure monogamy's, you know, just go for that too. But yeah, no, it's been an amazing experience. I think it also, like, the States is just, you have the laws, right, that are against men. I'm sure you're aware of, right? So
Yeah.
I'll probably never get married, you know, in the States, just for that alone. But yeah, it's a completely different dating scene, and it's definitely been a positive experience for sure. We'll just say it that way.
And I know this seems like a basic question to you, but most guys don't understand this. When you say the woman is feminine, what do you mean by that? Because guys, like, actually don't even understand what that even means till they experience it. So elaborate a little bit on that, because it often leaves guys mystified when
Yeah, like, they want you to lead, right? They're okay with being letting you lead the relationship, I guess, right? Making decisions, uh, giving you massages, cutting your toenails, you know, cooking for you, clean, just wanting to be an asset to your life, right? Is the best way I could put it. Hopefully that gives you an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I tell guys that, and this is tougher to pull off in the US because it's just a different world, but it's like, you need to have your purpose and drive and vision, and
Yeah.
you need to serve God, and they're there to complement you and help you along on your purpose and your journey. And, you know, in that, and then, you know, in that sort of relationship, you also can provide for them and give them protection and give them that masculine leadership. But it's like, it's not this like, well, it's 50-50 and like we're kind of making every decision together. No, you're leading your life, your strong masculine life, and they're coming along with you and helping you and aiding you in that. And I think that's a concept that is lost on a lot of guys, you know, especially if they live in urban centers in the United States, because that's just not how relationships are at all. Or even, I feel like most guys in America are even asked to ever, or are scared to ever ask their girlfriend, hey, can you cook for me? Like, can you like do this laundry for me? Like, I think they are just like so scared to even ever bring that up. You know, just the thought of that would be like, oh, I'll be called a misogynist or something crazy. It's like, no, that's the
Right.
norm elsewhere. That's been the norm for a long time.
Right. I think, like, there needs to be polarity, right? Like, one person, like, has to be the more masculine one, the other one has to be the more feminine one for there to be like attraction. I think the States, women are just grown up, and I don't talk badly about American women. I've dated American
No.
women the first like 30
Mhm.
years of my life, and there were good experiences. But it is a different mindset. Women do feel like and it's not their fault, I don't think, but yeah, they just feel like they need to be a little more masculine, right? And
Mhm.
women in Latin America or South America, that just it's less of a thing. There are certain countries like in Mexico, Guadalajara, I did find that they were a little more masculine minded as well, kind of like they wanted more of the 50-50 type deal. But yeah, for me personally, if you're a masculine man, you would much rather prefer a feminine woman, right? If you're heterosexual, and that's just going to be the better dynamic that I would prefer, and that's what I get more of in South America and Latin America.
Yeah, no, same thing. I think unfortunately, because of the economic situation in the States, a lot of women are forced to like provide for themselves for long periods of their lives. And so that's why they've
Yeah,
become that way. You can't really have single income households in the US like you could.
right.
So it's like, yeah, I'm not really even blaming them. I'm just saying here's kind of the reality. And it's like, if that's not to your taste, if you don't aren't finding fulfillment in that, here's where you can more easily have access to that. That's kind of how I like to frame the
That's a great
conversations,
point.
because some guys like the 50-50 and it works. I know marriages that work like that, then fine, go for it. But I feel like a lot of strong masculine guys, it's like, where do I find these women that, you know, are feminine, whatever? It's like, okay, here's what I think is your best option. That's kind of how I like to frame the conversation.
Yeah, no, it's a great point because it is tough to provide, you know, for an entire household to have that masculine presence, right, in the States, right? You got to be earning a lot to be able to do that, but it's much easier to pull that off in a place like Latin America. So I think it could be too that the society, you know, just there is a lot more, there's less masculine men. They don't teach masculinity in the States, right? I know people say there's a war of masculinity. Sure, that could be true, but there's definitely a difference in mindset, right, when it comes to that. So yeah, I agree with what you said there.
What's your opinion on, because I did watch a video where you kind of reacted to a guy's video. and you worked in real estate, so you also understand this. What are the things contributing to the downfall of whatever you want to call the American dream, or what was the status quo or norm maybe 30, 40 years ago? What has contributed to that? And do you think it's a good plan for guys to, I'm just going to stay in the US and hope it gets better, or do you think it's going to get worse over time? What do you see in the future with your analysis?
I just think the US is going downhill when it comes to inflation, cost of living, taxes, AI taking a bunch of jobs. I think it's just going to get worse and worse. And I think places like South America are just going to get better and better, right? Those are emerging markets. So I like to reference it back. Like if I was back in Boston, maybe in the 50s, 60s, 70s, even, like imagine what the prices were back then, imagine what the mindset was back then. People were just, I feel, were happier back then, right? You were in a rising economy. Like United States was the place to be, that was the feeling. And now it's kind of like, it's the place where people want to leave, you know what I mean, to get it. But we all want quality of life. That's what my channel is really about. It's just about it's about living the highest quality of life as you can for men, right? As a man, that's all I can talk about. So I feel like in the United States, to get that high quality of life, it's not the best country to be. If you want a high quality of life, the best quality of life is going to be outside the States. So that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for a certain threshold in the States, you can achieve that high quality of life. And I think if you quiz people, like if you had unlimited money, where would you live? Some would pick Latin America, maybe.
I still wouldn't be in the States if I had unlimited money, but go ahead. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. And then like you're someone who's like, no, it just is much better fit for me all the way around. And like, that's awesome. Like, I think that it's like you found your place, and it's like, that's what I kind of want to wake up guys to. It's like, it could be a problem of location. Just explore, just figure it out. Maybe you'll find your place that works better for you. One interesting thing I wanted to bring up is, also I saw another report that the fertility rate or the birth rate in the US went down again. I think it's lower than 1.5 now, which there are some countries in Latin America also struggling with that, which I don't really know why, or if it's accurate or what's going on, but the US is still having that birth rate issue. And so that doesn't bode well for a civilization long term if you can't replace your own people, or the average age of your citizenry is continuing to go up. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. But do you know why Latin America is also experiencing some of that?
I don't know. What did you read into some data where they're not having babies in Latin America? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think Colombia is now basically where the U.S. is.
Yeah, no, I couldn't talk to that.
Yeah, that's fine. No, that's fine. One thing I do bring up when I talk about Latin America is there's always the people in the comments go, well, it's too dangerous. You're going to get, drugged and robbed and killed, like it's inevitable and stuff like that. I've been there, not as long as you have, of course, but once you get your boots on the ground, just talk about what the safety situation is actually like and how it may be a better trade-off than being in the US in some cases. Why don't you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think most of the cases I hear about safety or druggings or deaths, right, comes from short-term tourists who are looking for, easy women or looking to pay for play, right? That's kind of where it comes in, the scopolamine and all that stuff. So as far as safety goes, yeah, I've done a lot of videos on safety. If you're not desperate for that type of thing, right? If you don't, Latin America is not a place to show off, right? So if you got Rolex watches, if you have like gold necklaces, if you want to drive supercars, then yeah, Latin America is not going to be for you. You're drawing too much attention to yourself. So if that's not you either, I think you're going to be just fine, right? Obviously, you want to avoid certain neighborhoods, just like any other city. If I go to Boston down the street, like I'm going to find bad neighborhoods just like anywhere else. So just avoid the bad neighborhoods. And I've been to some bad neighborhoods, but I knew the people that were there, right? So it's just I don't know, just for me, it's common sense, right? But obviously common sense isn't so common. So stay where you're, just don't go into bad areas. Don't do any of the stupid stuff that I just mentioned, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. I think a lot of Americans or American men, they come from maybe rural, high trust communities that are very safe, and they didn't grow up in an urban center where like there's good and bad neighborhoods, like, and they don't have this concept in their head. So it's like they haven't been trained to even think about safety as an issue at all. And I think it's like they go to Latin America, they don't think that, anything bad can happen. I'll just do my thing like I do in the US, and then bam, something bad happens. When it's like, you also need to realize you're on a different culture in a different world, and things like that can happen to you. So I think it's unfortunate when those things happen, but I think if people do a little bit of research and really like, you have to just don't try and, do the obvious things to get you into trouble. And I think you're going to be in good shape in most cases. So I think drinking and inebriation and chasing, SCX tourism is probably going to be the worst, the worst ways to get in trouble.
Yeah. And if you're ever at night, like you were in Cali, so Cali could get, some streets can get pretty lonely at night. So just take an Uber. If you're like when I was in Granada, whenever I wanted to go to like, I don't know, San Antonio or Jardín or wherever, I would take an Uber there. Because El Peñón too, that's a pretty easy walk from Granada. But still, like if it's at night or if you're coming back from a place, maybe it's late at night, just take an Uber back and just avoid, just minimize any potential danger if you can. Right.
I mean, Ubers are $1. Like, is your life worth $1? Like, come on, people. It's really, really pretty straightforward. I remember walking back from the church at San Antonio back to El Peñón, and that's probably like a 10-15 minute walk. Luckily, I had a Colombiana with me, and I insisted we take an Uber. She's like, "Oh, we'll just walk back." I do it all the time. I'm like, "Are you sure about that?" And so, I did do that walk. That was the sketchiest walk of my entire life. I'll have to admit, as a guy from a rural community in the U.S., that was definitely, I walked around the Bronx, some places when I did my East Coast trip, but that was nothing like walking around at night in Cali, Colombia. But nothing bad did happen. So, what can I say?
Yeah, that part could get pretty sketchy at very late at night. But your experience is probably different from mine because I can pass for a Latino. Technically, I am a Latino, right? And I did grow up in the hood too, so I'm a little more comfortable with that. So it's good to hear your experience as well because I think most people will probably be in your position. Guys like me are probably they don't even think about safety. It's like whatever.
Yeah, right, exactly. When I go to Colombia or Latin America as a 6 foot plus white guy, it's like I stand out. I stand out in a certain way.
Yeah.
In some ways it will help me, and in other ways it will not help me. So it's like keep in mind who you are. It's like obviously you can go about safety differently than I can with your experience, your instincts, your background. I think a lot of people in Latin America like, oh, he could be from that country. They might not even think twice about it. They go, that's a tourist when they see me. So,
yeah. Good point.
That does play a big role in it. Why don't you discuss real quick just how impactful that cost of living change is when you move locations, whether it comes to rent or food or everyday costs, and how that gave you a large degree of freedom when it comes to your life. Why don't you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge, right? If you have some debt, I don't know, it's much easier to pay off debts, right? You just feel a lot more free, right? You don't have to, if you used to work in 50, 60 hours a week just to get by, it's like, okay, now you can get by with like 15 hours a week, right? It's just a big difference. So now all that can go into savings. You can obviously live in much nicer apartments. You can eat out every day. You can go on as many dates as you want. You just have a lot more freedom and abundance is what you get when that happens.
Yeah, no, that's totally true. Even when I lived in South Korea, it's not like Latin America where the cost of living's here. It's somewhere in between, I would say, the US and Latin America. And even that move down really opened my eyes to like, it's really kind of much more relaxing and stress-free when you're just not constantly chasing all those like monthly expenses that you seem to just accrue in the US by just simply existing, like just being a person. It's like
just having a car, man. Like having a car cost me like a G, for the payment, for the insurance, for the gas, for the occasional parking ticket in Boston, Massachusetts. So just not needing a car, that's a really nice apartment in anywhere in Latin America. Something as simple as that. Health insurance. I've been self-employed since 19. I was paying a few $100 a month just for health insurance, just to go to the doctors every year, pay a copay, and tell them you're doing good, kid, keep it up. Right now, that's a payment. That's like $400 I can save right there. Being self-employed. So that's another big expense right there. Where that's like almost $1,500 a month with health insurance and a car.
Gas is insane now too.
Gas, obviously, food, eating. I just ate out right now. I had a sub for like $20. So everything's super expensive out here, and it's just you can't live you have to be more conscious with your spending. Whereas, like I said, if you $2,500 a month, you live like a king in most places in Latin America.
Yeah, no, Jersey Mike's I think cost $20 for like a regular sub or something like that. You can't step into an Uber in the US without paying $25-$30, I would say.
Dude, I spent $80 on an Uber from the airport to Salem, which is like a 40-minute ride, something like that. And the funny thing is, in Colombia, you want to take. I was in Bucaramanga for a while, so if you want to go from Bucaramanga to Medellin or Santa Marta, one way is just $50. So think about that, like a flight,
Really?
right? Yeah, well, flight inside the country of Colombia to go from like one place to, I don't know, maybe it's like an hour flight or something like that. It's going to cost you less than an Uber ride for like 30, 40 minutes, right, in the States. Same thing happened in Miami too. From the airport to Brickell, it's like $60. And just one flight in Colombia, and domestically is like 50. So you're spending less for a
Oh
flight
yeah.
than a freaking Uber.
Oh, flights. I thought you said you drove and took an Uber from
No,
Bucaramanga.
I'm talking flights, not flights.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes. No, flights are domestic flights are incredibly cheap in Colombia. I have to one up you on the Uber story though. I got back to my airport on the West Coast. I'm not gonna say what city, but I went with some people, but they got stuck on another connection. I didn't have my car. I took a $230 Uber that was 50 minutes back to my house. Yeah.
15 minutes, 1.5?
No, 50
Oh, 50.
minutes.
Okay.
It was
Damn.
$230 because gas is over $6 in this urban center. So it's unfreaking believable.
Yeah. So the guys watching this, I mean, think about that. Think about how much your quality of life improves when you know you can just go to the beach, right? You go to Santa Marta, Cartagena, or Medellin, if you want to go to a tourist spot for a weekend. It's going to cost you $50 one way, right? Or if you want to go round trip, $100. You could do that every freaking week if you want, or every month if you want, right? Compared to the States, it's like just to go from Massachusetts to Florida, it's just a lot difficult to live that higher quality of life, from
I
what I
think
found.
the Hyatt Regency in Cartagena is like $100 a night for a room, $90. You could do that for 2 nights. Take a flight there. You just spend $400 on a vacation, like a nice vacation. You can eat nicely, take a girl with you, whatever you decide to do. And
Right.
you go to take a vacation I was at Disneyland recently. Like, oh my goodness, that was just so expensive for that trip. You do anything in the U.S., it's like $1,000 to go anywhere. So, healthcare is the other one that I'm glad you mentioned because. I mean, that's just, I had a lot of stomach problems last year. I mean, the medical bills were insane for that. I went to South Korea. I literally collapsed in their airport because I had got one of their flus or something. Ambulance, trip, an hour, hospital, 5 tests, night stay. It ended up costing me like $50.
Wow.
For like high quality care. And I think Colombia's medical system is ranked above the US.
I don't know where it ranks, but I've been to the doctors in Medellin. I got what the hell do you call it? What do you call it? I always forget the word. It's like chicken pox, like as a grown adult.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about? It's gonna bother me, but
I don't know specific disease, but something like that.
Not a disease. It's like a rash that some guys get when they're older. It's gonna bother me, but whatever. So I was nervous because that was my first time in Colombia, right? It was in Medellin, and I needed to go to the doctors at like my first month, and it was a great experience. I walked right in, right? I didn't have to wait. The doctor like basically observed me. She said, "Oh, this is what you have," and she gave me medication for it. And within like 2 weeks, it was gone. I paid like $50. $50 seems to be the going rate. And that was it. And it was an amazing experience. I've go to the dentist. I don't even go to like anything to do with cosmetic or health or, I do it all not in America. Right. I had a really good experience with, Invisalign. So yeah, no, I can't say enough good things about the healthcare and how affordable it is and how efficient and quality is in Latin America.
I know some guys are getting hair transplant surgeries in Latin America too, has been an option for them if they're so inclined to do that. No, because I've talked to people in other countries. They're like, oh, when you're sick, when you're sick, you go to the hospital. And I'm like, in the US, no, you go to the hospital, you have to be dying. Your leg has to be falling off. Your bone better be splitting out because
you gotta wait.
Can't go to the hospital for $1,500. That's pretty much impossible at this point. But yeah, other countries you can, especially if you have insurance in that country, it's not going to run you very much at all. And they'll actually see you and not send you to a nurse practitioner who then references you to some specialist that you can get to in 3 months or something like that. I mean, it's just, I feel like for the country the US is, the fact that the medical system is this bad, I think is really an embarrassment.
Yeah, I think it's a scam, to be honest. We don't have to go too deep into that. I just looked it up on ChatGPT. It's shingles is what I got. It was going to bother me. Yeah. So it's kind of serious, Shingles, you got a fever and then boom, like within 2 weeks. So from there on, I was like, all right, I can trust, like the doctors here.
Yeah, they know what they're doing. I think there's this weird perception as Americans, and it's only till you start going abroad that you understand this, that like it's still 1980 and like the rest of the world is like really undeveloped, and like you kind of have America and Europe, and then like everything else is just like nothing. And it's like, no, a lot of places have caught up. Like a lot of places have caught up in a lot of ways. And I think it's tough for Americans sometimes to look outside the, that perspective to see, no, other countries do some things better. Like, believe it or not, believe it or not.
100%. A lot of countries are a lot healthier too, right? A lot of people walking around, like not eating junk food all day, right? Normal portions. So all that stuff is like preventative healthcare as well at the same time, just with their way of life.
Yeah.
So that's another benefit. Organic foods, healthy fruits, right? All that stuff, vegetables. Go ahead.
Just the oils and stuff in our foods. Like when I went to abroad in Korea for a while, all my stomach problems went away. My health totally improved. I was fine. My first week back in the US, I'm like feeling sick again. I'm like, it must be this food, the garbage that they put out, even in the stuff in the grocery store is, got pesticides and crap sprayed on. They don't have the money for that in a lot of places in these other countries, and you actually get real food.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Yeah. What was your experience with, did you have health improvements when you started living in Latin America?
I was always relatively healthy. I mean, I was an athlete growing up. Baseball, football, I wrestled. So I was always like working out. As far as, I mean, I walk a lot more, I run more. I have better habits, I would say, just because there's less stress, I guess. So I think that's benefited me, But no matter where I live, I'll be healthy. But yeah, I'd say just the lack that you like less stress, and things like that have benefited for sure.
Mm-hmm. What is like a good? Do you have a gym membership in your building, or do you have a gym membership? What does that cost you think in US dollars when you're in Paraguay, for example?
Yeah, I had a gym membership for like the first, I don't know, long time. Like Smart Fit's pretty popular, right? It's only like 20, $25. Pretty good gym. It's always packed though. Body Tech is a good gym I had, a little more expensive, less people, higher quality equipment. I've been in some like rugged gyms, which I actually like. There were some rugged gyms I've been to where it's like all their equipment's super old. It felt like you were in like the 1970s or whatever. That was cool. But now I just do calisthenics as of recent, because I've always had issues with like my shoulder a little bit. So recently just been calisthenics, push-ups, pull-ups, body squats, right? Variations of all those things. And I'm enjoying it a lot. So as long as I have a pull-up bar, which pretty much all my buildings have had, I don't need a gym membership. Or, if I have an outdoor park, which a lot of, what's crazy out here in my area, there's no calisthenics park. There's no like pull-up bars, none of that stuff. There's parks for like, baseball fields, basketball courts, playgrounds for children, but there's nothing to do like something basic like pull-ups. I just realized that now, whereas in Colombia, I had no issues, right? I had no issues finding a park with like pull-ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm actually healthier out there because I'm outside in the sun. I'm getting vitamin D. I'm walking there and I'm doing my calisthenics, no problem. Within like 30 minutes, I'm back. So I love my lifestyle a lot more over there than here, for sure.
Yeah. Now, I remember in Seoul, South Korea, they have outdoor gyms that are free and they get rained on, but like it doesn't hurt them. And like they have full weights and stuff. It's really crazy to think about. Like, I don't know. I couldn't imagine that maybe happening in the US. They would all get stolen probably first off. But I think I'm going to I saved the best for last year. What I wanted to get into was when it comes to dating in Latin America and positioning yourself to get the most high quality dates and matches and to not rush things or be an idiot. Do you still use apps today? I know you also talked about an Instagram strategy that you've touched on some videos that I'm actually really curious about. If you could elaborate, if you want to elaborate a little more on as a good way to meet women as well. I'd like to hear your sort of general approach and system and elaborate a little bit on that approach, because I'm very curious about that one.
Yeah, so I like being really efficient with dating. I don't like wasting a lot of time. I'm very busy with, work stuff. So I would suggest wherever you go, like maybe hire a photographer, take some pictures, get some good photos, right, of yourself. And yeah, I still use apps. You can find good women with apps. Just apps, there is going to be a lot more. Like I'm in Paraguay, like I'm part of a couple group chats there, and it happened like a few times where the same girl was like already had dated or was dating like one of your friends, right? So that might happen with the apps. Instagram's better, I think, once you have a decent Instagram, and you have like a strategy around stories. When I say stories, you know what I mean, right? Like on Instagram stories. Yeah. So like today, like I posted myself like working out, right? So girls will see that and they'll like you, they'll like it or their comment, right? It's a way to nurture, right? Girls who you've matched with on Instagram. So if you go to your city, yeah. So if you go to your, go ahead.
So match with on Instagram. I'm confused.
Yeah. When I say match on Instagram, basically when you follow someone and they follow you back, to me, that's a match.
Okay. How do you know what the pool is? Like, how do you get this starting pool of women to begin following? Like, that's what I was interested about.
Yeah. So let's say if you don't know where the best locations are in a certain city, just know that first, right? And there's certain things I can tell you to find the best locations within a city, like the most walkable areas, like the best cafes, the best restaurants, the best bars, things like that. Find out what those places are, and then you go to those places and you like see who's followed those places, right? And then you can see girls who have been there, they check in there, and then you can just follow them, right? And then if they follow you back, it's because they're usually interested in you. Right? Okay. Maybe they might like your photos. Maybe they look through your stories. It's pretty easy once you have a decent Instagram. You just literally click follow and then the rest just happens, right? And then I have a strategy around like messaging too. Like I'm pretty systematic with everything that I do, to be honest with you. Okay. And then, yeah, that's how it starts. It's just having decent photos, having decent stories, and just following girls that you think are attractive.
Okay, that was the missing piece. I was like, how does he find the girls to follow? First you find the locations, you see who follows them, okay, and then
not only that, that's what dating apps come in too. Dating apps, you can when you match with girls in a city, right? I always get their Instagram. I want to get their Instagram because I want to see for obvious reasons. That's another thing. You want to stay safe, and if you're not sure of a girl, get her Instagram. That tells you the story a lot of times. And then I see her friends, like who follows her, right? And then you just follow her friends. You could do it that way too.
Okay. No, I no, this totally this is gold right here, honestly, I think, for a lot of guys, because the apps are a good starting point, but then I think that's a good place to branch out from,
correct.
After you've done that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, look, girls on apps, if you just like, even if they have no intentions on, just have friends, they can show you a lot of places. They can show you all the places that you should go to, like best neighborhoods, best spots. Like they're very helpful, right? And it's just like having a friend. So I
had a friend I met that we just practiced English Spanish. We just practice language exchange. Like it's a little more. I would say it's a little more socially acceptable to have male female friendships in Latin America and not make it seem like it's this weird romantic thing. Maybe that's a little more socially acceptable. Maybe you disagree with that. I don't know.
Repeat that again.
Male female friendships are maybe more socially acceptable in Latin America than the US.
Oh, okay. I always think someone likes the other one. So usually, if she's your friend, then she obviously wants you more than you want her. But I think that's just my experience, right? But if you know no one in a certain city, like in a remote city, like I don't know, maybe like a Bucaramanga or something like that, where it's maybe 1 million population or less, then yeah, you can have girls who have friends and just kind of friend zone. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just keep it platonic.
No, that's a good strategy. Also, because I talk about with guys, like, everyone makes it seem like, or a lot of people online make it seem like, oh, every girl you're going to match with on Bumble and Tinder is trying to like scope you or something. It's like, no, those are like kind of obvious to filter out. Like they are being overtly sexual in the beginning conversations. All their pictures are boobs and butts, and they have no Instagram. Yeah, that's a red flag right there. But it's like, there's actually a lot of genuine girls on there. And if you're not a complete idiot who thinks with the correct head, you should be in good shape.
Agree. Yeah, 100%. It's pretty, if the girl's giving you, she's giving you like words like amor or cariño before you even meet her, and she's attractive, obviously, like, come on, that's a red flag right there. Yeah. So normal girls don't do that. So just use the correct head, just like you said.
Some of these guys be too thirsty to even think a little bit beforehand. It's like, guys, like, put yourself in this girl's shoes. Would you do these things if this was a random guy you met from another country you've never seen before? Like, come on, like think a little bit before you act.
Yeah, but it was pretty crazy, man. I mean, US, it's like a stupid amount never had sex like in the past 5-10 years, right? Something like that. I don't know. Like, so yeah, there's a lot of desperate, men in the US that it's just how it is. So I don't know what to say to that, but it's just the way it is, just what it is.
It's unfortunate, but I think the first time I went, I utilized Bumble. I just decided not to deal with Tinder because that seems to be the most problematic one. But I know you can get success with that one as well. But I think if you fire up Bumble, use your Instagram strategy, sort of branch out, I think over time use some in-person game as well. Also can work if you have the time to do so. And you find mutual places. Like, I think just from the approach from my channel, I think meeting girls at churches would be a really good starting place if you're looking for,
Oh yeah, if you're Christian Catholic, they love you. It's a big, as you know, yeah, big Catholic society. But yeah, just like when you're going about your day, like I've met girls at the laundromat, right? I'm just dropping off my laundry, and the two girls that work there are attractive. One of them, meets eyes with me, and we exchange numbers, and now, we see each other. So it could happen anywhere, really.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of guys, especially guys under 20, 25 in the US, because that's more my audience is a little more younger.
Okay.
It's like never ever asked a girl out in person ever, and they see TikToks of guys being made fun of, right? And so there's this huge sort of fear aspect around it. And it's like, there, I think it's just it didn't seem as like they're so put off by the idea. It's like, just be a little bold, be a man and make it happen. It's much safer environment to try that things out. If you get rejected, you get rejected, move on. There's plenty of available girls for you to, talk to.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so I think that's, I liked your videos because that seemed like a really good strategy. It didn't emphasize, any sort of pay for play stuff, which I think is, it's not even necessary if you, just spend a little time in cultivating a real relationship. I don't think you even need to delve into that. Not to mention that's where you start to delve into the real dangerous aspects of, Latin
Right.
America.
Yeah. And like, what would you rather have? A girl who generally likes you, or a girl who she's just doing it because you're paying her, like, which obviously the other one's better. So it's like, put in some time, like get good at it,
Yeah. It's not really that hard. You spend, like I said, get good photos. That's obviously important. Learn some Spanish. Like I remember when I first went down, and I used Bumble in a number of different cities. I got really good at Spanish just chatting with the girls for a long time. It's like that really can help boost your conversation, as well when you do that. So it's like, this is just stuff that, as a man, you just kind of need to learn to do.
Yeah. I mean, once you go on a lot of first dates, I've been on so many first dates. I feel like that's kind of where, like, if you can get yourself in front of a first date a lot of times, that'll probably alleviate a lot of the fears, right? Because then after that, it's just, I don't know, everything else. To me, it's so funny. I think in systems, like I already know, like in my head, like a system on a first date too, right? Like first, just talk about, just kind of build rapport, and then I like to talk about like relationships, like her family and her friends, things like that. Like what does she like to drink? What does she like to eat? She's traveled, right? Things like that. And then eventually, I like to talk about her previous relationships as well. And then yeah, I like to talk about like who if she's seen any other foreigners before, right? Or am I the first one? Things like that, right? And then eventually, if you like the girl, you can either go to a second spot or you can invite her back to your place. And having good logistics is key, right? If your place is here, you want to ideally have the date near your place, right? So just good logistics. If you have a nice place, great. If you have a balcony, great. Good excuse to come back to the crib and just see where you want to take it. But like once you're comfortable on first dates, everything else seems to be easier, I think.
Yeah, it is like it is something you practice. Like
exactly, it's a skill.
Yeah, it's a skill. Like you get good at the first time you start texting a girl, like you're not very good at texting, and you kind of learn it, and you kind of get better, and you learn how to set up dates and take the roles. Like it is something that a muscle you need to exercise, and then pretty soon it's like it's kind of just like second instinct to make all the right decisions.
Yeah, I think it's exactly like sales. It's a lot like sales, right? So I think a big mindset key is to be okay with sucking, whatever it is you want to get good at that you're not good at right now, right? Like be okay with that. Just give yourself the permission to suck in the beginning, and then just keep doing it, keep getting better. Obviously, it's ideal to get some help, outside help. You know what I mean? Like if you are struggling, maybe get a mentor or something if you can, or whatever. But just get to the point where you suck less, and then eventually you'll suck so less that you'll be actually pretty good, and kind of just go from there. You just got to be okay with sucking for a period of time.
Have an abundance mindset. Don't be like, oh, this one has to work out. No, just practice, and then don't get so fixated on like this one thing. No, it's like you're gonna fail. It's not always gonna be perfect, but over time you will get better, and you'll get to a point where you're like, okay, this is kind of working now. The bar is so low. The bar is low, guys. like
that's the thing. You have so much more of an edge. You know what I mean? So it is a lot easier because a lot of the, depending on what country you're into, a lot of the women they're not too fond of their own men in their own country. So they see a foreigner, it's like, oh, like this guy seems interesting, right? A lot of the men out there have cheated on the women. Like they're known for having a bad reputation for lying. So things like that. A lot of them are out of shape. They don't really work out as much, not as attractive. They don't they're not really ambitious. It's like, dude, the bar is pretty low. You know what I mean? So there's like what you said. So just be honest and get better. Go ahead.
I never like to hate because I know awesome Colombian dudes. I know awesome, Korean guys when I've been there, but it's like there is a reputation. It just is. I've just talked enough with the girls that there just is a reputation around their own men. And, if you can just exceed that just a little, like you'll be in perfectly fine shape, and just try and respect the culture, respect the language, and, make decisions with good discretion, and I really think you're gonna be fine.
I think being honest just goes a long way too. I think a lot of guys are scared, like they lie because they're afraid to lose the girl, but I think that makes you more attractive. Like whenever a girl asks me if I'm seeing anyone else, I tell them straight up yes. If they ask me how many, I'm not gonna like tell them, oh, like 7, you're like number 8. I'll probably be like general about it. I'll be like, I don't know, a lot of a girl's gonna ask you, ¿Cómo son las mujeres acá? Like how the girls treated you, right? Things like that. I always tell them just son amables, they're very kind, right? Keep it super general, right? And they know what that means, but you know what I mean? So when you don't lie, they like you more is what I found.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that's a very nice, tactic that you're using. That's going to make you seem very desirable. That's a, very good move if that's the approach you want to take. So, a lot of this is like not, people keep reinventing the wheel with this, dating and red pill stuff, but it's like, it's stuff that's been around forever that, it's just kind of basic male female interactions that people keep kind of repackaging today.
Yeah, well, I think that's normal, man. Like when you're in a new city, right, you want to get to know a lot of people, so there's nothing wrong with going on a lot of dates. Doesn't mean you're having sex with all of them, but there's nothing wrong with going on many dates and a girl knowing that. I think that's actually normal. I think she wants you to do that. I think if you're not dating, if you're not seeing anyone else, it's a little, in her mind, it's kind of like, why isn't he seeing anyone else, right? Something wrong with him, you know what I mean? So it's kind of normal. Yeah.
Oh, I don't think, if you're in the early stages, like, of course, like, I don't think I'm talking about like having multiple long-term relationships.
I don't do multiple long-term. We could talk about what I think about that and like my dynamics with that, because I do have a setup kind of, but I don't have multiple long-terms. That's just way too much time and money.
Yeah. That's just a lot of time investment at that point. It's like, what are we doing with this? So, well, I really appreciate you coming on and your time. People can check out your channel at Alex T. Rodriguez. You have a way for people to work with you if they want specific help, getting your life set up in Latin America, would you say, or just helping them with their first trip? Like what exactly is that service? Or
so it's a questionnaire if you want to fill it out, just whatever it is you need help with, right? Whether it's choosing a location, whether it's help with visas or residencies. Maybe I had a guy ask me about dating, kind of what we're talking about now, right? When it comes to dating women in Colombia, specifically for him, but really anywhere in Latin America. So whatever it is you feel you want, some guidance or some help with, feel free to reach out. And if I can help, then, we can make it happen.
Oh, I want to finish with this one last question. What was the one thing that took you by surprise the most? You're like, oh, that was a big mistake I made when it came to dating in Colombia, where you're like, okay, that I need to fix. Was there any major mistakes that you made early on, or was it kind of all just smooth sailing from the start?
In terms of dating in Colombia? I'm sorry, dating in general?
No, dating in Colombia. Yeah, dating in Colombia.
Took me by surprise, you're asking me?
Yeah, or just like a big mistake you made early on, or an assumption you made that was wrong. Anything that comes to mind?
Not in so I've dated in Colombia for quite, frankly, to Paraguay, but to me, Latinas are Latinas. It's not too much of a difference. I'm trying to think. So I'd say when back to the case where if a girl asks you if you're seeing anyone else and you are, there's a certain time where you want her to bring that up. If a girl asks and when I was in Cali, Colombia, I was with a girl for first 6 months, and she never asked me like, are you like, what are we, until maybe 6 months, right? Until like right around when I was about to leave. Like that's when she gave me, like, she told me, oh, I'm okay, like with you probably seeing other girls. She never brought that up, right? As far as like, what are we? Are you seeing anyone else type thing? But there was a girl who asked, and most girls do. Most girls ask that around the 3-month mark, pretty much, like 3 to 4 month mark, around there. But I had one that asked me like within the 2-week mark, and I was very honest with her. I told her, I was, but she obviously didn't like that. So she was gone for like a week, right? And then she wanted to negotiate after a week. So basically, we're still talking to this day. But I would say if a girl asks you that too soon, like within 2 weeks, you don't have to be as blunt as I was, right? Because I could have lost that girl. And she's a great girl. She's really smart. And she's kind of like, she's my main girl in Paraguay. But I would say that how I would handle that better in the future. I would just say it's too early to talk about that instead of just like being blunt about it. Because some girls who feel like maybe they're high valued themselves and they want to like just be exclusive with one person like right away type thing. I don't know. That's the first time someone's asked me that within 2 weeks. I would just say that's a mistake that I made, that I almost lost the girl, was being a little too blunt. But nah, man, Colombia's been a great experience. It's been a really good experience. I can't think of a big mistake, to be honest. How about you? Can you think of one?
Dating well, I don't have enough experience, I would say, dating in Colombia to say that, we'll see coming up next year when I go there more long term, what kind of blunders I could possibly make. So, but no, not yet.
Yeah, I've never been asked for like, no, that's not true. I've had one girl ask me for money, but that was already after. She was more of a friends with benefits, and I think she got that, she felt that, and that's when she would. But I honestly can't speak of anything in Colombia where it's like a big blunder.
I think if you screen properly, you're going to limit a lot of the like problem relationships. If you kind of, systematize, screen the quality of girls early on, you're not going to really run into too many, problems. Like,
I'd say a blunder in general when I was first in Colombia was when you first go to the airport, you want to be careful. There's a lot of guys that claim they're taxi drivers, right? And if your Wi-Fi is not working, maybe you don't have an eSIM yet, or you don't have a SIM card. It's like, shit, I have no service. You're looking for a taxi, right? Because you can't use Uber. It's like, shit, I'm looking for a taxi, and these guys are all in your face like, hey, taxi, 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 and they're not a taxi. So I got into a ride with someone who wasn't a taxi. Luckily, he was a honest guy. He was a good guy. He just overcharged me. I forgot what he charged me, but it was a lot. But I'm cool with that as long as I got to my place safe. But that could have ended up a lot worse, right? So just make sure it's an actual taxi. Go to like a stand where, like you actually, there's like stands, you know what I mean? Like in the airport. Don't go to a random guy who's just saying I'm a taxi, and don't do that. That could end up being a big, huge mistake my very first time in Medellin. So I got lucky there.
Luckily, I had a friend of mine who'd been there before. I had private drivers lined up. That's harder, for a lot of guys starting off to do. But yes, that would be. Or I had one guy in Cartagena who claimed to. He would carry my bags or something like that. I ended up over tipping him, and I asked someone like, "Oh, I had one of those bag carrier people help me," and they're like, "What are you talking about? There aren't bag carrier people." So, who knows? Crazy stuff can happen. Oh, I did want to ask you real quick, because this is what my channel is directed to. If you're a Christian Catholic guy and you're looking to date through, church networks and girls who are like that, do you think you'll be set up well in that situation if you're an honest guy like that? Do they like guys like that?
Yeah, for sure, I'd say so.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I've met it's actually happened in Bucaramanga, a girl who was really very, very Catholic, very, very into the church, church every Sunday, very good girl. That doesn't seem to be like you don't have to be a Catholic or super religious guy, right? Like they'll date outside their religion. That's what I found.
Okay, interesting. Well, I really appreciate your time, Alex, and good luck continuing with your channel. I'll continue to be following along and commenting. You got a lot of good stuff over there. I'll leave his channel in the description down below if people want to check it out. A lot of good information in this interview. Is there anything else you want to cap it off and say, or have you said everything you want to get out here?
Yeah, no, I'm glad glad you hit me up. You asked really good questions. So I think we got everything else. If you want to do this again in the future, maybe I'll have some more stuff to share once I'm actually based, in Paraguay for some time, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Thanks for coming on, and we will see you all next time.